This is absolutely ridiculous. We've seen Jayson Tatum get his knocks and slanders this week with the MVP talks from all of media and all the analysts. But this is just way over the top. ESPN's new analyst and ex-GM of the Golden State Warriors, Bob Myers, was covering the game last night between the Knicks and the Celtics, and he said some blasphemous things about Jayson Tatum not performing and comparing him to some players in the East that he needs to outperform. And we have stats to back up that Jayson Tatum has outperformed these players. We're going to be breaking down all of that, plus Kristaps Porzingis giving JT some shines of light from the postgame yesterday. All of that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz, but before we fully dive in on all of this Jayson Tatum drama, 78% of you guys are not subscribed. I would greatly appreciate it if you guys hit that big old red subscribe button and joined the Celtics Digest family. To the thousands of you guys who watch our videos every single day and want to make sure you stay up to date on daily Boston Celtics content and coverage like this video plus more, make sure to hit that subscribe button as this is the place for you. But without further ado, let's dive in on all of this Jayson Tatum news. Make sure to grab a snack as it is going to be a jam-packed episode as we dive in on the first topic, looking at Kristaps Porzingis giving Jayson Tatum some praise. And this was following the game last night versus the New York Knicks, in which Kristaps Porzingis had some very kind words to say about Jayson Tatum, and it kind of had to do with the MVP race because a lot of these people are kind of hating on Jayson Tatum for not being able to compete for the MVP because he has so many superstars already around him. Now, this is a tweet from the Dunk Central that says, JT, he deserves a lot of credit because he can say, F it, I want to score 30 every night. I want to get MVP, but he's not doing that. I think people are overlooking that. You have to give him credit. And that was Kristaps Porzingis speaking on behalf of Jayson Tatum. And I totally agree. We don't have the Jayson Tatum stats here pulled up, but Jayson Tatum has been absolutely balling for the Boston Celtics as one of their top superstars. He's playing like a top 10 player in the entire NBA. In my personal opinion, I think he is a top 5 player in this league. He has the stats to prove it, and he's playing one of the best years of basketball on the best team that he's ever played on, in the best team in the NBA, looking like it could be a historical team with one of the best starting fives of all time. That is enough to cement Jayson Tatum and give him enough credit. Now, obviously, Jayson Tatum could be ball hogging and could be playing his selfish ways, which I'm not going to lie, we have seen in the past with Jayson Tatum being a little bit younger, but with this team realizing that the championship is their main goal, Jayson Tatum isn't giving a crap about that MVP. He wants that finals MVP, and that is what is in the back of his mind. And as a Celtics fan, I would rather him be competing for that finals MVP and wanting to win this championship more than trying to average 30 to 35 points a night and win that scoring title and win that MVP. In my personal opinion, I think him being less selfish and being more dependent on the team, and we saw that in his last interview as well, his last press conference. We also saw in that interview with Malika Andrews after the All-Star break that this man is locked in on winning a championship and doing so for Boston. And honestly, that's all I want to hear. It's music to my ears, and as a Celtics fan, I believe that's what you guys want to hear as well. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below on all of this drama. I think that Jayson Tatum could be competing for the MVP, but obviously he would have to average a little bit more points, and for the league to recognize that, I don't know if they will. But let's dive into the main news, the main drama, the main gripe I have, as we want to discuss how Bob Myers is delusional. Now, I saw some word on Twitter as well. A lot of fans were agreeing with Bob Myers here from other fan bases, and it's absolutely crazy to hear other fan bases agree and say this, because this is straight blasphemy coming out of his mouth. We want to dive in. We can look at this tweet here from Taylor Snow, who is the reason that I noticed this, and said, has Bob Myers been asleep for the past 2 years? And if you guys missed the broadcast last night, this was, I believe, during the halftime or after the game between the Celtics and the Knicks, kind of discussing how Jayson Tatum is going to perform and how Jayson Tatum can be in the NBA. And Bob Myers had some really weird words to say, as he said, could we see Jayson Tatum outperform some players in a playoff series? Could we see him outperform a Jimmy Butler? Could we see him outperform a Giannis Antetokounmpo? Could we even see him outperform a Joel Embiid? When healthy, Joel Embiid. But when healthy, Joel Embiid. Can we see him outperform those guys? Can we really give him that much credit? And to one thing I want to say, Bob Myers, is that Jayson Tatum has done that throughout his entire career. He has outperformed all three of those guys, and I have valid proof for you guys to see. We want to dive in. Let's look at Jayson Tatum's playoff stats. Now, these are all the playoff series that Jayson Tatum has competed in, from his first playoff series to his last playoff series, the one versus the Miami Heat. And I want to look at some stats for the Miami Heat series. So let's look at these stats. If we look all the way to the right, we can see minutes played. Jayson Tatum averaged around 41 minutes. He averaged around 25 points. He averaged 10 total rebounds, and he averaged 5.4 assists. Now, obviously, as we all know, and Celtics fans know, we lost that series. The Celtics lost in 7 games. Jayson Tatum hurt his ankle, and they lost. But let's look at the winner of that series in Jimmy Butler, and let's look at his stats for the series. So if we want to look down, we can see that in the series that Jimmy Butler did win, and Jayson Tatum eventually got hurt in Game 7 and barely played in, Jimmy Butler averaged 39 minutes, so roughly around the same minutes, 40 minutes. He averaged 24.7 points, roughly around 25, but a little less percentages. 7.6 total rebounds, around 3 rebounds less, and 6 assists. A couple more assists than Jayson Tatum. But in my honest opinion, Jayson Tatum averaging 1 less assist compared to him, but averaging more rebounds is something that definitely proves that Jayson Tatum outperformed a guy in Jimmy Butler in this playoff series. And the Celtics lost that playoff series where he outperformed Jimmy Butler, which is absolutely blasphemous for a guy like Bob Myers to even particularly say. Now, if we want to dive in, the next player that he mentioned was Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. Giannis Antetokounmpo averaged better stats than Jayson Tatum did in that playoff series. But in the game where it mattered most, that Game 7, let's look at what Giannis Antetokounmpo did for the Milwaukee Bucks. He played around 43 minutes, shot 10 for 26 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, 4 for 6 from the free throw, with 20 total rebounds, 9 assists, and 26 points, with a minus 20. Why don't we look at what Jayson Tatum and Grant Williams did for the Celtics? Grant Williams, let's also not forget, guarded Giannis Antetokounmpo throughout this entire series and went 7 for 18 from the 3. This is Grant's big game in the playoffs. 10 for 22 from the field, 50%. 6 total rebounds, 2 blocks, and 27 points on a plus 25 while guarding Giannis Antetokounmpo for a majority of this series. Jayson Tatum also shot 50% from the field, 6 total rebounds, 8 total assists, with 23 points and 15 turnovers. Now, obviously, he's not putting up 20 rebounds, but his team eventually got it done and outperformed Giannis Antetokounmpo in a Game 7. He ultimately had Grant Williams help him out guard Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he outplayed him. Now, honestly, this is the closest comparison for Jayson Tatum to be playing with, and in my personal opinion, I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player in the Eastern Conference and is the most dominant. But Jayson Tatum ultimately can compete with Giannis Antetokounmpo and can show to the rest of the league that him and Giannis Antetokounmpo are the two best forwards in this conference. And lastly, let's not forget and mention the last guy that he brought up, which was Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, obviously, he said when healthy, which the Celtics have beaten the Sixers when they have been beaten down. But let's look at Joel Embiid's stats from last playoff series. Obviously, he played in 6 games where they lost 2-4, and he averaged in 38 minutes, 25 points, 9 total rebounds, and 2 total assists. Now let's look back at Jayson Tatum, and let's look at Jayson Tatum's playoff series versus the Miami Heat, where he averaged 29 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 total assists. So if we want to compare that alongside with Joel Embiid, we can see that he averaged 5 more total points. He averaged a total of 2 more total rebounds and 3 more assists compared to Joel Embiid. He outperformed Joel Embiid in that playoff series right then and there, and he has beaten Philadelphia in multiple playoff series because the Boston Celtics versus the Philadelphia 76ers are an impeccable record where the Sixers have not been able to beat the Boston Celtics, and Joel Embiid has a total of 3 playoff wins versus the Boston Celtics. Therefore, the Boston Celtics have been able to beat Joel Embiid multiple times in the playoffs, and Joel Embiid has been outperformed by Jayson Tatum in last year's playoff series. Therefore, Jayson Tatum can compete with the likes of Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jimmy Butler because he already has and has already outperformed those guys. ESPN needs to do a better job at looking at talent to talk about the NBA and basketball, or guys need to do better research. Because a guy like Bob Myers, who has a highly reputable career of being a good GM and getting the Warriors to the promised land, he should desperately know how good some of these Celtics players are, especially a guy in Jayson Tatum who went after him and cooked their Warriors team in some playoff games during the finals. Honestly, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, but Jayson Tatum is at the level of all these other guys like Jimmy Butler, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, like Joel Embiid, if not better. And that needs to be proven to the mass medias because I feel that the league does not appreciate Jayson Tatum as much as we do. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode here on Celtics Digest. If you guys enjoy content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you guys are at this point in the video, we know you enjoy the content. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode, like I mentioned, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.